Hey guys, I want to wish everyone a very happy new year, and I also want to take a look back to 2021. It was a very transformative year for me personally. First, back in January, I became no longer fully employed, so basically unemployed. I was able to produce my first 2 DocuSeries for weather.com. The first is called Disaster Road. It focused on the impacts of repeated billion-dollar disasters that have had on people who live along the I-10 corridor between Houston and Florida. The second series was called Parched and in Peril. It focused on the issues surrounding the drought in California, from wildfires to water rationing and impacts to farmers. California is always in a state of weather whiplash. I'm going to include a link to both of those series in the comments. Please watch if you haven't had a chance to yet. Along the way, I was able to cover tropical storms and hurricanes, none more impactful than Hurricane Ida. That was the second Category 4 to hit Louisiana in just the last 2 years.
It's a scene so shocking, lifetime residents of Grand Isle couldn't even bring themselves to cry.
When I first got onto the island, I was numb, very overwhelmed, numb. I couldn't even cry.
Officials say every single structure on the island suffered damage, but if you still have a structure, you're a lucky one.
This is 3 to 5 times worse than Katrina.
What's the difference?
The destruction. Every structure here has some kind of damage.
It looks unsurvivable, and yet somehow a few residents stayed and are alive to describe a decision they regret.
Una cosa muy dramática de miedo, de orden, porque fatal.
He says it was very dramatic, fatal, because of the water everywhere.
Le dio al revés.
Alex Lopez and 3 other Honduran nationals that are on the island to work in the shrimping industry say the water was between 8 to 12 feet.
8 a 12 pies.
The group describing their house shaking on stilts as like they were in an earthquake.
What was the house, the casa?
Yeah, the house.
Terremoto?
Yeah, terremoto, tiembla mucho, you know?
He also says he thought the storm would take the house, take them all, and everything would collapse and disappear because of the water and wind.
La agua y el viento.
For the people who stayed right there in that yellow house on stilts, they said that the storm for them lasted from Saturday until midday on Monday. Water was still here, the wind was still blowing. This is their first sense of relief.
Tengo 6 años de vivir aquí en la isla.
Rafael Lopez says he's lived on the island for 6 years and been through 5 hurricanes, but they were never like this one. This one was very similar to Katrina.
Parecido a Katrina, you know?
Infrastructure is non-existent, and the island is described as uninhabitable, covered in at least 3 feet of sand.
As long as there's 1 grain of sand here, we will rebuild.
But as a place self-described as halfway to heaven, it seems Ida has made it a lot further than that.
Named storms don't always cause the most destruction. I'll never forget the flash flooding in Waverly, Tennessee. In the middle of Tennessee, devastation that you usually only see along a coastline.
As soon as I seen it come up over this bridge, dude, it was just like a mini tsunami.
Yeah.
What could be a new state record for rainfall, over 17 inches, falling fast and forcing a wall of water down Trace Creek and through the town of Waverly. It was too fast for many to react to any warning they might have had.
She told me that we need to get in the truck and go. The water was getting ready to come over the bridge. By the time we came outside, there was no saving anything. We were wading waist deep over to my mother-in-law's here in the next building.
Neighbors in the same apartment complex show the water that came up to the second floor balcony.
Up to that line right there. The first line.
The devastation stretches for miles. Houses swept away, cars still sitting in the creek bed that now flows well below its banks. But the real cost of this tragedy is counted in the lives lost and missing.
When that girl hit that tree right there, she hit that thing so hard and her head went under, and I never seen it come back up, dude.
Tragically, this death toll continues to rise in this very small town of Waverly. But when you talk to the survivors of homes literally swept away, you realize just how close it was from being an even greater tragedy.
That's all I could think about. Like, we're like, this is the end of the world. You know, I've read it in the Bible, you know, stuff like this, you know, end of the world type stuff. And, you know, all we could do was pray, man. We all sat up here and prayed, and we prayed hard.
Shock and sadness in the eyes of the survivors after a sight that has never been seen here before. October saw a generational nor'easter wreak havoc in Massachusetts.
New England is known for its history, and this nor'easter made some. For those who somehow managed to sleep through its ferocious winds, hundreds of thousands of New Englanders woke up without power. Hurricane force gusts easily tearing through trees, many still with full foliage. Hopefully, though, you had a neighbor like contractor Andrew Spaff.
Went to leave this morning, and there's trees down on every street that to get out of the neighborhood.
Who brought his own crew in to clean the massive trees that had trapped his block.
I mean, we have the equipment, so I didn't expect the wind to be this bad. We've never seen it this bad, the trees down in the neighborhood like this.
It was a Noreaster, but it left behind destruction you'd expect from a hurricane.
I guess Hurricane Gloria is the only thing I can compare it to, really. It's wild. The winds are just insane.
Winds that literally blew boats out of the water.
The cleats ripped completely away, and that's what allowed these boats to blow to shore.
The cleats were ripped off the slips, so that's wild.
A wide swath of wind-driven damage stretching from Cape Cod to Boston, where a roof was ripped off of an apartment building in Quincy and trees tumbled onto roofs. Nowhere was safe from this storm, neither home nor harbor.
And in November, I got trapped in the Outer Banks of North Carolina as another no-name storm blasted those islands.
It's a modern-day story of Sisyphus. But instead of rolling a stone up a hill to only watch it roll back down again, heavy machine operators with NCDOT push sand back to try and keep an ocean away from Highway 12. A critical small stretch of highway since it's the only way to drive on and off of Hatteras Island for now.
Now, in the distance, which is interesting, this beautiful bridge being built should be finished construction, they estimate, early part of 2022. They've nicknamed it the Jug Handle Bridge, and it goes around this trouble section. So it's raised bridge in the Sound, goes around into Rodanthe, and that is going to completely detour around this trouble section. So in the future, they're just going to let this section of highway become a beach. They're going to let this sand erode in, and this section of road is no longer going to be here. And they won't have to spend the tens of thousands, I'm assuming, per year to clean this section of road every time one of these systems comes in, overwashing these dunes and closing down the highway. So it's going to be a major help, and likely this might be one of the last times there's going to be a closure on Highway 12, especially right here, from a system like what we just experienced.
At least it won't take until next year to try and clear the highway, but it can seem like it when you aren't planning to be trapped in paradise.
We planned to stay come down Sunday to the funeral, go back Saturday, and we put our dog in a daycare center, and we had to call them and tell them we don't know when we're coming back.
Nice, so they can keep him till Wednesday.
So it's been, and we didn't pack for a week. We packed for 2 days.
We packed to come down for Saturday and leave on Sunday.
Have enough toothpaste and whatever.
We have it.
Last us.
You might have to go to the t-shirt shops.
No, we're leaving.
To go get an OBX t-shirt to have some clean clothes.
That's exactly right. But we hope and pray we're going to get out of here tomorrow.
At the mercy of Mother Nature while the graveyard of the Atlantic continues to kill the coast. On the Sound side, the ferries finally restarted Monday afternoon, wind dying down enough to pull aboard and leave Hatteras behind. And you see that even here, work is underway to clear the channel from sediment that the storm moved in. In the Outer Banks, you just live with Mother Nature. You can't control it.
So I saw California at its driest, and now hopefully it's on its way to recovery with feet of snow here in December. But that same system that brought the snow also brought dangerous and historic fire conditions to the middle part of the country. Unfortunately, those fires spread across several states, but none with the impacts of what I witnessed in north central Kansas.
There's a difference between losing a home and losing a livelihood, but rancher Chris Pelton has lost both.
You knew it was coming. You just hoped it would go around you or miss you somewhere or another, and the wind's just shifting from southwest to west to north, and it just encircled us, and I mean, there's nothing you could do.
Along Pelton's barbed wire pastures lie carcasses of cattle, burned alive from a wildfire moving as fast as a hurricane-force gust could push it.
Early on, the fire crews were holding their own very well. When the 100 and some mile an hour wind came through, things got out of control.
If there's an image that can sum up just how powerful these winds are,
It's this semi that's knocked over. You can see gouge marks on the highway as it scraped before it was tipped over. Then you look in any direction, black and charred fields. The sheriff of Russell County is saying this fire stretches for at least over 150 square miles. That's around 100,000 acres burned at least in just a few hours.
So many other prairie fires before, not too bad. This one, it spanned like the whole county.
Homes inside the town and homesteads on the surrounding ranches reduced to rubble. Pelton was able to escape with the clothes on his back, but he came back early with a borrowed jacket to care for his cattle that survived.
Yeah, we have to. You can't make them suffer any more than they have already. I mean, it's enough.
With no buildings or equipment left or pastures to feed, he plans on dispersing his cattle around the state to friends, but already neighboring ranchers are bringing hay and water trailers. It's more than Pelton is asking for.
I guess the biggest thing is the awareness of what we do. Excuse me. And the risk that we take to do it.
Another paradise lost to a wildfire. But paradise isn't just a place, it's also the people who live there.
We'll rebuild. We'll keep it going.
Incredibly, I was able to do all of this independently. Now, I did not get rich this past year, but I'm very optimistic about next year and the coming years, in large parts because of you guys. So you guys have found my page, you like what I'm doing, you've liked my stories, you've shared them, you've become subscribers in a lot of cases, and that really helps me, helps to grow my brand of independent storytelling and journalism. And it also, in the case of being a subscriber to my Facebook page, it helps to fund this brand of what I'm trying to do. So thank you so much. And for those subscribers, I have another video for you showing a few moments over the last year, or even I got a little bit nervous. I hope you enjoy it. And again, I hope you guys all have a very happy new year. Thanks again for watching and for all your support.